In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an important concept. A lot of times we're out and about in the real world and we see something that we want to recreate. And so we'll snap a picture of it real quick, and then we have to bring it into our computer software, and we can pull dimensions from that real world object. This is something I do quite often, and it's real important that we understand how to do this if you're wanting to recreate something that we might see while we're out and about. So let's go ahead and import an example image of what we're recreating here. So here is an image that was posted. And so what we want to do is we want to be able to recreate this outline. Now, in this case, we're recreating a piece of yard art, it appears. But we could do anything. Like we could see a cool bench, or just anything that we see, and we want to recreate it. What we have to do is we have to get a really good, clean, dead-on front perspective image, which we have in this case, but then we have to get a real world dimension of something in that image to scale it to. So for example, you've got two pieces of wood here. And let's say we measured this piece of wood right here, and in the real world it measured 24 3/8. So what we need to do in our computer software is we need to make sure that board in the computer software is 24 3/8, because if it was, then we know that the outline that we need of this plywood looks like wings. It would be the same size as it currently is, what it was when we took a picture of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our line tool here, and we're just going to start by creating a line at the top of our board and come down and create a line at the bottom of our board. Now, in this particular example, yes, I'm using CorelDRAW X6, and it's a fantastic program. I've been using CorelDRAW for many, many years. And but the process that we're doing would be the exact same in Adobe Illustrator, would be the exact same in Inkscape, or pretty much any graphics software that we're using. It's the same process. Those tools will have similar tools that I'm about to show you here. So for example, so now what we have to do is we have to figure out how big this line actually is, because we have no clue. We have no way to know how big this line really is. So I'm going to click on that line and come over here. There's something in CorelDRAW called Object Properties. Like I said, Inkscape has a similar function that will tell you the length of the curve. Adobe Illustrator will have something that tells you the length of the curve. But you can see right here, this curve is 1.792 inches currently. Okay, that's what it is right now in the computer software, but we need it to be 24 3/8. So what we have to do is we have to do a little bit of calculations. And the way we do that calculation is you come in here and we tell the calculator what size we want, which in this case is 24 3/8. So you do have to know your decimals. I'm an architectural major, so that's one thing they taught us. We really have to be sharp on our decimals. So 24 3/8. That's how it's represented in decimal. And then we have to divide it by what it is. And I already forgot what it is, so let me just look here, and you can see it says 1.79. So we're going to divide that by what we have, which in this case is 1.792. And that is going to give us this, okay? 13.6. Now, when you're looking at this, the first position here, think of that as hundreds, and then our next position is thousands. So if we have two digits before the decimal, then we know we have to enter in 1,000 value. So in this case, it would be, so we're going to use the first four digits. So we have to scale this image 1,360% of what it is, and that should then make that line 24 3/8. Now, it won't be exactly 24.375, but it'll be relatively close. So let's try that. Let's go ahead and select this, and let's scale this 1,360%. Boom. And let's look at the line. So we have our line selected, and we come over here, and you can see here it says it's 24.3, but instead of 7.5, it's 8.2, and that's just because of the rounding that we rounded to. So now we know that that line is very, very nearly what it is in the real world. So now we can go ahead and trace out the wings and be able to recreate this. So how would we go about doing that? Well, I'm going to go into wireframe mode here in CorelDRAW. Let's go ahead and get rid of this curve. Well, we could just set it over there, get it out of our way a little bit. Now there's lots of different tools in CorelDRAW, in Adobe Illustrator, in Inkscape, and all these different programs. There's lots of different tools to create something. So it's just a matter of how familiar you are with those tools and how successful you are going to be recreating. So when we're first starting out here in CorelDRAW, I always recommend this B-Spline tool. Now in other graphics programs, this B-Spline tool, in CorelDRAW it's called B-Spline, but in other programs it's called the Bezier tool. But they all work very similarly. So what we're going to do, we're going to zoom in tight here. The one bad thing about using this tool in CorelDRAW is once we start using it, we can't zoom in and out. And that really bugs me because in all the other drawing tools, we can zoom in and out. So that's kind of frustrating. But we're going to zoom in kind of tight here. And all we're going to do is just click right here on the outline. Little clicks. When I'm teaching this, I always people want to, speed ahead. No, we don't need to speed ahead. Let's just do little clicks, and you'll see. And then if we zoom up and zoom over, that's how we pan. We just go to the edge of the document. Little clicks, little clicks, little clicks, little clicks. Now, when we get to a real curved part, we make even smaller clicks. Smaller clicks, smaller clicks, smaller clicks. So we'll just come around. Now, no, this is not the way I would do it, but it is a way that you can do it. Okay, so there you go. So that is kind of our first segment that we've created. Now, when I get to a point where I have a sharp angle, then I'll just start anew. So I'll come down here, little clicks. I'm at a sharp angle. I just start new. And then I can connect to what I just finished. And just keep going. And then to end a segment, we just double click. It's real simple. Now you see how this actually appears to be curved. So we'll use little clicks. It's kind of sharp. The smaller the clicks, the more definition you're giving it. So we'll just keep going here. Nice small clicks. We're going to double click here because I'm going to call that a sharp corner. And then we'll keep going. Double click. And see how it wants to kind of create a curve there? No, we don't want to do that. So we'll just start again. Because we want a nice sharp point there. So you can hit your escape key. There's a variety of ways to get out of that and kind of force it to make a nice sharp. We're going to use little clicks here to define that shape. And once you get more familiar with the drawing tools, you can use them to And I might show you one segment where I would switch over to the tools I would normally use. But if you're just starting out and you want a great result, this is by far the easiest way because anyone can do this. You just click right along that edge, and the software, Illustrator, or not Illustrator, well, Illustrator has a similar tool, but the Inkscape tool, Inkscape, of course, is a free graphics program, is really good for this too. Like the way its tool works. I don't have a lot of experience with Illustrator, just because I found CorelDRAW and always use CorelDRAW, but I am aware that Illustrator does have a similar tool that works in a similar way. Double click. So let's just say I want to do a section with a different tool. Okay, pretty good success there. But if we switch over to a 3-point curve tool, this is probably how I would normally do it. I can come in here and you're drawing 3 points. So we start here, that's 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. Okay, so if I was normally drawing this out, that might be how I would do it. One, you can zoom in and out, which I like quite easily. And once you know exactly how the tool works, then you can go pretty quick with it too. And I'll show you some. So we'll go ahead and finish this with our 3-point curve tool, because you can see it is faster than click, 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 click. So it is definitely much faster. So when we're doing relatively simple shapes like this, that 3-point curve tool is the way to go. When we're using that 3-point curve tool, I will tell you that I don't get too, I want it fairly close to the original artwork, but we are going to come in here and make some small edits, and you'll see why we'll need to make some small edits as we go. But it doesn't have to be super precise either. It's really easy to edit our results here. All right, so now we have our entire outline. So let's maybe pick up our outline and just slide it over, make a copy of it here. Now, when we are using the B-spline tool here in CorelDRAW, it's not a curve. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just use my paint bucket tool. And you see what we did is we filled that in. So now we'll give it an outline, but we won't have no fill. Now all of these lines are now curves. These are B-splines and curves combined. Now if you look at it, the router would do a fine job in routing this out. But if we look closely, see how there's a little dip right there? I don't know if you can really see that super well. Maybe the thing is to give this a little bit more width. So let's just say we're going to give it 6 millimeters. Okay, now you can kind of see that dip just a little bit. So to fix it, if we don't want that little dip there, is just delete it. So there's an unnecessary node there, we could just delete it. We did that when we created these curves, but we don't really need it there now. So if we go to wireframe mode, we can see this a little bit better. See all those curves and all those nodes? And the reason down here we have hardly no nodes, and up here we have a bajillion, and that's because of the Bezier tool, or the B-spline tool. So we can get rid of those. We'll just click them all and come up here to reduce nodes. We could use something like 30. And you can see how many nodes we got rid of. We got rid of a ton. Now we don't necessarily still need all these, but we could, so we could possibly eliminate like well, this one we probably do need, but this one we don't need because we have one here and one here, so we don't need one here. And then there's one right here and there, so obviously we don't need that one. Those two we do need. That one and that one we need. That one we need. This one we don't need. To define this curve, we don't need this one. Now, it wants to put one there, but that's okay because we could delete it anyhow. Let's see here. Ah, maybe this is why. This one's a little wonky here. So we'll turn that into a cusp. Now when we delete that, we don't need it. It's because that node was a little bit goofy there. So when unexpected things happen like that, that's usually why. There's some root cause that's causing that. So we probably don't need that one either. That's fine. We'll go ahead and delete that one. Probably don't need that one. Don't need that one. And you'll get a feel for it once you kind of understand how the software works, if we need those extra curves or extra nodes or not. So let's see here. We probably don't need that one. Definitely don't need that one. Usually you just need a start and an end. And that's it. That's usually all you need to define a curve. So here we have a start and end, but we have a middle. But now on this one, well, it changed a little bit. It didn't change that significantly, but it did change a little bit. So you can create a reasonable example. All right, so the rest of it, I think that's good. So there is a pretty good reasonable example. Now, we'll get rid of this one. That was our original. And let's just slide over what we created. Now, oftentimes we're not looking to, when we recreate things, we're not, yes, we want to recreate it, but it doesn't have to be dead on. Okay, and in this case, with the case of the wings, you can see we're super close. It's a little bit different there. It's a little bit different there, but everywhere else, it's almost spot on. So that tiny little bit of difference on something this large, this is almost 5 foot tall. So when you're talking about that little eighth of a quarter of an inch difference in those areas, it's not really going to matter. But this can be an extremely useful process of taking a real world photo, then taking a dimension of something in the image. So if you, let's say we see a cool bench, and we take a picture of the framework of how that bench was made, and then we take a picture of a stop sign that's in the image, or a dimension of the stop sign. As long as we have something on the same plane as the bench, it doesn't necessarily have to be on the item that we're taking a picture of, as long as it's on the same plane. So if we had a bench right next to a stop sign, for example, and we took a dimension of the stop sign, then we would know that the bench is going to, and we scaled it in the software, we scaled the stop sign to the size it is in the real world, we would then know that the bench is that same size. But like if we did take a picture of a bench and it was a wooden bench and it was made of 2x6s, well, we know that 2x6 is 5.5 inches. So we would scale it in our software. We would scale that board to be 5.5 inches, and then we would know that our dimensions for the framework of the bench are spot on. So, like I said, it's something I do all the time. I'll take picture stuff and be able to recreate it fairly easily. So I hope that helps you. Thanks for watching.